The existence of forbidden or adult-only content isn't exactly shocking to most people. We've all encountered it in some form, whether it's searching for couples online or stumbling upon questionable GIFs in Telegram or Discord chats. That might be somewhat acceptable, but when such content deliberately targets young children in today's vast digital landscape, it becomes truly disturbing. YouTube, as you all know, is one of the largest social media platforms in the world. It's a platform where many people, including myself, grew up. In the early days of the internet, content meant for kids didn't typically include violent scenes, provocative thumbnails, or anything else that could negatively impact a child's mind. However, as the internet evolved, the age at which children are exposed to such content has steadily decreased, and platforms like YouTube Kids have only made things worse. Let's start by looking at the animations on YouTube Kids, which often hide extremely violent and immoral scenes under a child-friendly facade, a phenomenon tied to what's known as Elsagate. For those unfamiliar, in 2016 a major scandal erupted, dubbed Elsagate, which in many ways set the stage for the issues we see today. Back then, YouTube was flooded with bizarre and terrifying videos disguised as children's content. These videos featured popular characters like Elsa, Spider-Man, and Peppa Pig, but instead of innocent adventures, they showcased absolute chaos, scenes of violence, strange fetishes, simulated pregnancies, abductions, blood, and screams. These videos racked up millions of views and frequently appeared in children's recommendations. The platform's algorithms didn't flag them as dangerous because they were styled like typical cartoons, bright, dynamic, and seemingly harmless at first glance. After significant backlash, YouTube promised to tighten its moderation and clean up the platform. They introduced restrictions on certain words, began slapping 18+ labels on videos for the slightest infractions, and required creators to tag their content for specific age groups before publishing. However, as you might guess, these measures haven't been very effective. YouTube can still automatically label content as suitable for YouTube Kids, including everything from trashy animations to deep web-style videos where someone showcases human body parts. I actually covered this in a previous video, which I recommend checking out. Now, regarding the animations I mentioned earlier, things aren't much better. A notable example is the channel Slim Cat, which creates animations based on characters from the game Spanky. In this game, you can drag accessories onto characters who then make sounds and come together to create a short musical piece. On the surface, the game seems innocent enough, though, honestly, it's pretty boring to mess around with. However, this particular channel, which remains anonymous, takes the game's characters and portrays them in extremely suggestive poses. As you scroll through their channel, every video has provocative thumbnails paired with odd titles. Clicking on these videos only makes it worse. I won't show everything here since YouTube can be unpredictable, but you can find some full clips on my Telegram channel to get a sense of the content. For example, one of their most popular videos, with 1.5 million views, shows a slightly censored version where two characters jump into a grave and then kiss. If you scroll down to the comments, it becomes clear who the real audience is. And that's not all. Looking at their more recent videos, it's obvious the creators aren't just posting explicit content, they're pushing boundaries even further. This kind of hidden, inappropriate content on platforms meant for kids continues to raise serious concerns about what children are being exposed to online. The content in these videos isn't limited to suggestive themes. Many include scenes of violence, blood, and even murder. Clearly, this is completely inappropriate for the young audience these videos are supposedly aimed at. The issue isn't confined to a single innocent musical game either. There are hundreds of channels that exploit popular children's games like Minecraft or Toy Play, using familiar characters to create highly explicit content. This generates significant revenue for them. Even more alarming is a new trend where some of these kids' channels collaborate with creators on platforms like OnlyFans to produce provocative gaming videos. Their main goal is to sexualize the content and keep viewers hooked using these tactics. This same category includes creators who use AI-based image and video generators to produce creepy and shocking content centered on cats. Honestly, watching these videos is deeply unsettling, especially when you realize the audience they were originally intended for. Thankfully, many of these seemingly cute cat channels have been banned, but new variations keep popping up in their place. One such channel, Cute Cat of NI, even appears on YouTube Kids, where content is supposed to be filtered. Yet, you can still see these horrific thumbnails, cruel and frightening, but disguised as something adorable. Looking at this from YouTube's algorithm perspective, rather than a regular viewer's, the issue becomes clear. Video descriptions often contain meaningless text, pretending to be about heartwarming cat moments. Occasionally, questionable keywords slip into the titles, but it's still not enough for the algorithm to flag the video as dangerous. This is a core problem. Flaws in metadata analysis allow this disturbing content to slip through the cracks of the algorithm. And if this is happening on the surface, I can't even imagine what's going on in the depths of YouTube. Children's content that includes violent and intimate scenes is just the beginning. When it comes to advertising on YouTube, businesses can pay a fee to launch campaigns on the homepage, in shorts, or within regular videos. YouTube then uses Google data to target the right audience at the right time. However, this raises a question. At what point does YouTube decide to recommend an app for video chatting, an explicit virtual companion, or even a so-called X-ray app that claims to see through clothes? The imagery in these ads is far from the worst of it. Some advertisements go to extreme lengths, promoting content that's downright shocking. If you dig deeper into this issue, you might come across a thread on the Google Help Forum. Based on user responses, there are two theories. Either your device is infected with a virus, or the ads are tied to apps from the Google Play Store. I believe the latter is more likely, as most of these ads do originate from Play Store apps. This raises an interesting question. Why should advertising rules for the Play Store differ from YouTube's? Aren't they both Google products? Or do their ad policies simply vary? Further research reveals Google's advertising policy, which states that certain types of sexual content are banned, though some are permitted. This leads to a fair question many people have. Where exactly is the line between acceptable and unacceptable content? Of course, there's no clear answer. This issue partly explains why such advertisements even appear on YouTube. Creators bypass restrictions by adding logos to certain body parts or muting the audio to overlay music later. The most frustrating part is that these ads aren't targeted to a specific audience. They're shown to everyone, regardless of age or interest. You might think users can simply block these ads, and that's a valid solution. However, what happens when explicit content finds new ways to spread? A recent Reddit post sheds light on some critical points. I was watching a video from a large channel, which I won't name for obvious reasons, and decided to check the comments section. The first thing I noticed was bots promoting their channels. Below them were groups of channels urging people to click links leading to illegal content, including child exploitation material. This wasn't the first time I'd encountered such a channel, but this time, curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to investigate further. In the channel's description, there were 2 links tied to Discord. I thought they might lead to a server for trolls or pranks, but when I clicked them, I realized I was terribly wrong. It was far worse than I expected. I immediately deleted the video and reported the channel. Unfortunately, this isn't an isolated incident. These bots continue to spiral out of control, and YouTube needs to take action as soon as possible. What's most concerning isn't just that this content is spreading, but that there are people on the platform, including minors, who want nothing to do with it, yet are exposed to it. This content isn't even confined to the dark web. It's spreading openly on a public platform, and sadly, that's far from the end of the story. Let's step beyond YouTube for a moment. It's obvious that various websites on the dark web are specifically created to distribute this kind of content, but we won't focus on anything specific here. The dark web allows users to remain anonymous and engage in highly illegal activities without much fear of being caught, as long as they cover their tracks properly. While illegal content isn't always easy to find on the deep web, when you do stumble upon it, it's often far more extreme and threatening. The anonymity and freedom to do whatever you want in this space can lead to nothing but chaos. Years ago, a dark website with around 63,000 users worldwide, charged a subscription fee for access to child exploitation material and other prohibited content. Two administrators, known as Salangam and Takze, were responsible for updating the site with new, horrific material. Initially, Interpol planted content on the site depicting abuse of 11 boys under 13 years old. This led to an operation called Black Rise. They knew hundreds of victims were likely connected to this site, and time was running out to shut it down. The police couldn't directly identify the children because they wore masks in the videos, so they analyzed physical features and behavioral traits to determine how long the abuse had lasted. As more countries joined this international investigation, they got closer to identifying the administrators. Eventually, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security traced the IP address, and Bulgaria's cybersecurity department stepped in to block the site. The New Zealand Department of Internal Affairs gathered data from the website and shared user information with Interpol, enabling them to track down individuals in their respective countries. They actively monitored the site, and when they shut it down, they passed critical details to Interpol. This allowed authorities to identify the victims from the videos posted online, leading to the arrest of Takze and the Salangam gang. In a disturbing revelation, it was discovered that Salangam, who lived in Thailand, was the man responsible for the abuse of 11 boys. When Interpol searched his computer, they found that one of the victims was his own nephew. Salangam had lured his nephew and 10 other boys with promises of internet access, video games, soccer, and tasty snacks. As for Takze, who resided in Australia, authorities seized his device and learned he had traveled to Thailand to abuse these children. It was also revealed that one of his victims was just 15 months old. Salangam was sentenced to 146 years in prison, while Takze received 40 years after pleading guilty to over 51 charges related to the abuse of minors. This case exposes a horrifying rabbit hole of adult content infiltrating platforms like YouTube, leading to the darkest corners of the dark web. In my opinion, the most alarming part of this story is how child exploitation material seeps into these platforms, and the platform itself seems powerless to stop it. While the distribution isn't always direct in the videos themselves, it often happens through the comments, which is still deeply troubling. Equally disturbing is the adult content on YouTube, disguised as children's material. These videos can influence kids and their behavior at such a young age. I'd like to believe things will get better, but that's not the case. If you check Reddit and dig into the issues we've discussed, you'll find multiple posts where people report the same problem. Many are genuinely convinced that YouTube and Google simply don't care because they continue to profit from ad revenue generated by these creators. Unfortunately, not every story has a happy ending. Always remember, an observer can never prove their own existence. Rest in peace.